Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, you are welcome. In this video I'm going to be making this dress here. So this is just going to be the pattern drafting of the dress, and I'm not going to be making a video of the actual sewing. So please make sure to watch this video to the end, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section and I will reply. So I already have my starting line here. So from there I'm going to take 3 inches for my neck width. So I'm going to subtract 1 inch from my actual shoulder measurement, and what I have, I'm going to divide it by 2, and by so doing I'm going to have 7.5 inches. On that 7.5 inch line, I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope, and I'm going to connect it to the 3 inches that I marked earlier for my neck width. So from this line here, I'm going to go down and I'll mark 9 inches, and this is going to serve as my round armhole, and I'll also draw a straight line on that line. Now what I have here is 7.5 inches. I'll mark it all the way down to my armhole line and then draw a straight line to connect everything. From my shoulder line, I'll go ahead and mark my bust point, my shoulder to my bust point. I'll go ahead and mark that here. And after that, I'll also take my shoulder to my waistline. Mine is 17 inches. You have to take your own measurement to know what yours is. And after that, from the waistline, I'll go down by 9 inches, and I'm going to have the difference between my waistline and my hip line is 9 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark the 9 inches for my hip line. Then I'll also go ahead and mark my shoulder to the length of the dress. So I want the length of my dress to be 44 inches plus extra 1 inch for hemming the bottom, which is 45 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark that, and then I'll just take my scissors and cut off the excess paper that I have on there. So I'm going to label these lines so we are not confused. So here I have my chest line, and I'm going to mark it CL. Here is my bust point, I'll mark it BP. Here is my waistline, I'll mark it W. Here is my hip line, I'll just mark a H there. And the line after my hip line is actually nothing, so it's just a joining of this pattern, so please take note of that. For the depth of my front neckline, I'm going to make it 3 inches. So we have here 3 by 3 inches, and I'll go ahead and draw my neckline curve. Now I'll come over to my armhole area, and I'm going to measure what I have here, and what I have here is 9 inches, and the midpoint of 9 inches, that's 9 inches divided by 2 is 4.5. So I'm going to mark it there, and for my front armhole, I'll go in by half an inch. This is to enable free movement of the arm. And then on my chest line, I'll divide my round bust measurement divided by 4, and what I have, I'm going to also place it on here. I'll go ahead and mark it here, and then I'm going to connect the points from here to here to here. I'll use my curve rule to do that. And after doing that, the next thing I'm going to do is to find my nipple to nipple measurement. Mine is 8 inches divided by 2 is 4 inches. So I'm going to mark 4 inches from my bust point all the way down to the length of the dress. And then I'll draw a straight line on there. On my waistline, I'm going to mark ½ inch on both sides, like this, ½ inch on both sides. And then for my hip line, I'll come up by 2 inches, and from my bust point, I'll come down by 1 inch. And then I'll use my ruler to connect here, here, and here, also here, here, here as well. And after doing that, I'll go ahead and take my measurements and place my measurement here. So my bust points, I'll also do this, have the same thing I have on my chest line. On my waistline, I'm going to divide my round waist measurement by 4, and then I'm going to add extra 1 inch for the darts that we're going to cut off on there. And then on my hip line, I'll also take my round hip divided by 4. I'll mark that here as well. And then for the length of this dress, I'm going to take what I have on my hip line is 10.5 inches. So I will also, before I do that, I will just mark out the 1 inch for sewing allowance and just draw the line on the actual length of the dress. So what I have here is 10.5 inches. I'm going to take it and I'll place it on the length of the dress like this. I'll place it on there and I'll mark it, but then I'll also go ahead and add extra 3.5 inches. This is going to be for the A line. Now if you want, you can make this 3 inches. If you want, you can make it 2. It just depends on how wide you want your A line to be. Now after doing that, I'll go ahead and connect the lines together. Now after drawing this, I figured that I want my hip line to be a little bit free and not tight on my hip line before the A line. So I went ahead and I added half inch on the hip line. So I'm going to add half inch here on my hip line. And then I'm going to reshape the dress like this. So this first line that I marked, we are not going to be using it. So I'm just marking it off. That's not the line we are going to be cutting on. Now for my side dart, I'm going to come down by 1.5 inches from my bust point line. And then I'll also come out by 1 inch from there, and then I'll go ahead and connect a straight line on there. Now for the dart that connects to the shoulder line, I'll go over to my shoulder line and I'll divide my shoulder line by 2. I'll fold the tape like this to get the midpoint of 4.5, which is what I have when I measured it. And I'll go ahead and fold my tape, and on that crease I'll go ahead and mark it. And then I'll take my ruler and I'll join it down all the way down to the bust point line. Now this is where our shoulder dart is going to be cut on. So this is what the front pattern is looking like right now. I'll go ahead and add half inch at the top of my shoulder just for joining the front and the back pieces together, and I'll just go ahead and cut this off. So this is what we have currently. I'll just use my curve rule to kind of create a little bit curve on here, because we don't want it to be like like straight lines. So I'm just like inserting a bit of curve on there. And so the next thing I'm going to do is to cut open my side dart. I'll cut it open like this. And then I'll also cut open my shoulder dart. Then I'm going to do this like this, and then use my tape to tape it to make it stay in place. So this is what we have on our shoulder dart. This is how open it is. So this is how to create a shoulder dart. Now I'll just go ahead and cut open everything, so watch closely to see how I cut it. But before I do that, on the bottom line I'm going to come up by 3 inches. I'll mark it 3 inches, and on this side I'll go ahead and mark 8 inches, and this is just to have a curve at my hemline, just to have a curve around there. And so I'll go ahead and cut it off. And now I'll go ahead and slit it open like so. You can see how I am cutting the dart area. So after I'm done doing that, this is what I have here. So this here now is my side dart, and at the middle part I'm going to be adding half inch for joining my dart, and at the side I'll add 1.5 inches for sewing allowance. And this is my center front. On here is going to be on fold when I'm cutting it out on my fabric. It's going to be on fold here, and on this other side I'll add half inch for joining my dart to the side front. So this is what I have. I'll go ahead and place them on my fabric and cut. So I'm going to add 1.5 inches. So for the back piece, I already drew out everything. This is the satin line, this is the chest line, the waist line, the hip line, and the length of the dress, and this is the zipper allowance of 1.5 inches. So from here I also marked 3 inches for the neck width, but then for the neck depth I'm going to mark 1 inch. So from the satin line I will go down and I'll mark 1 inch, and then I'll just draw a curve on there. And that is it. So after that I'll go ahead and adjust my armhole. So I'll place my tape, and I have 9 inches. I'm going to divide the 9 inches by 2, which is 4.5 inches. If you like, you can also divide yours like this, so you will still get 4.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark 4.5 inch, and then I'll go ahead and measure my round bust measurement on my chest line, and what I have I'll place it there, and then just use my curve rule to connect the 2 points like this. So after that I'll go ahead and I'll divide my nipple to nipple measurement divided by 2, just like I did for the front, and I have gone ahead to mark 4 inches from the chest line down to the length. The next thing I'm going to do is on the chest line I will come down by 1 inch, and on the waistline and on the hip line I will go up by 2 inches like this. So on the waistline I'll also take ½ inch on both sides, and then I'll go ahead and use my ruler to connect the 4 points together. So after I'm done that, I'll go ahead and I'm going to divide this place by 2, just like I did for the front. I'll divide it by 2, and what I have there I will mark it, and then I'll use my ruler to draw a straight line connecting it to my chest line. Like this, and then I'll go ahead and take my measurements. Note where I'm taking my measurements from. So I'm going to divide my round waist measurements divided by 4, and then I'm going to add 1 inch, the 1 inch that we're going to be taking out from from the darts when we take out the darts. So on my hip line, I'll also take my round hip measurement divided by 4. I will mark it on there, and then I'm also going to go ahead to add the ½ inch for ease that I added for the front. So I'll just add that there. And now for the length, down here I'll just go ahead and take out my 1 inch for my sewing allowance and draw a line there. And then I'll measure out what I have on my hip line there, and I will go ahead and place it on the length of the I will mark it, and then I'll also go ahead and add my 3.5 inches for the A-line effect. You can make yours 2 or 3 depending on how you want your dress to be. So I'll go ahead now and connect all the lines. So at this point I forgot to add my bust point line, so I just quickly did that. That's what I just did here, and just connected everything together. So on the bottom part, this is what it's generally looking like. But before I go to the bottom part, I'm just going to add ½ inch here for joining the both the front and the back pieces together. And then to get rid of any zipper bulge at the back, I'm going to take out ½ inch on the waistline of the zip. So I'm just going to mark ½ inch here like this. And then I'll use my ruler to connect it all the way up and also all the way down. After doing that, I'm going to come over to this other side, and I'm going to add back that ½ inch I took out. This is optional. If you don't want to do it, it's fine, but I just want my front and my back pieces to be equal. So I just added it back like this. And the next thing I'm going to do is to come to the bottom part, and I'm just going to do the same thing I did for the front. Come up by 3 inch and 8 inches by the sides, draw a curve and just cut it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out everything. So this is how you should cut yours. So look closely and attentively so you don't make mistakes. So I'll cut out this side of my zip like this. Then I'll go ahead and cut the insides. You can see how I am cutting the dart area. So this is what I have. I have the center back and the side back. So here I'm going to add 1.5 inches when cutting on my fabric, and here I'll add ½ inch, and on this side I'm going to add ½ inch here for darts, and then I'm not going to add anything here. And this is basically it on how to make the pattern for this gorgeous dress that I'm putting on. If you found this video useful, please make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment or a question, and I will see you in my next video. Also, don't forget to share if you find it useful. Bye.